between the body and the heart and mind. And this is what I call exclusive dimensions. We're all seasoned in this way of thinking, dichotomy. It is mental, then it's not physical. If it is body, then it's not mind. If it is soul, then it's not flesh. These are exclusive dichotomies. In the Chinese way, that's not the case. It's basically not inclusive, but interactive and communicable. You just cannot imagine that someone who doesn't have a healthy body but has an extremely who is able to have the clarity of mind and purity of the spirit. This, of course, sounds non-commonsensical, right? You have someone like Hawking. His body is totally deteriorates, and yet he's one of the most brilliant people in the world. And how does Confucian respond to that question? One is normal, one is extraordinary. The normal way of learning to be human is you cultivate your body, you become healthy, then your mind and your way of interaction with others and your quality of your soul will all be improved. This is the normal pattern. And Hawking and other cases will be exceptional. It's so exceptional, normally people in general will not be able to attain. So the importance of ritual, importance civility, importance of external conditions, of culture, all these contributed to a general impression of Xunzi as a humanist, but secular humanism, as a naturalist. Now, naturalist is understood in a very specific way. It's rather amazing in that period of time. We're still talking about a few centuries before the formal development of Christianity, of Confucianism in the Han Dynasty. The idea that what we consider extraordinary natural phenomena was very prevalent. Everybody believed in spirits, in ghosts, in a natural phenomenon. But Xunzi was very much of a rationalist. When people say, when you pray for rain, it rains. What is the connection? Xunzi said, there's no connection. In that situation, even you don't pray, it will rain anyway. So don't just accept nature as something that is beyond human comprehension. To fear nature, to have a sense of awe, is not good enough. In fact, it is inferior to the ability of someone to not just control it, to take advantage of it. And this develops a rather aggressive humanistic attitude towards the natural phenomena. If you work hard, especially collectively, you'll be able to overcome the various disasters of famine. So not to use, but to manage human affairs, independent of the cosmic process, is what we ought to do. Don't worry about heaven. Worry about the human condition. But I want to clarify this notion about secular humanism. Secular in the sense, of course, we use this term in a very specific way. Normally, we make a distinction between secular and sacred, or profane and sacred. But the notion for Xunzi, there's no distinction, clear distinction between what is secular, what is sacred. So the secular world is sacred. This again is Figueret's notion. Confucius, the secular as sacred. So in the ritual performance, everything is sacred. You cannot imagine anything that is not sacred. Even you tie your shoes, and it's considered as a ritual. There's a proper way of doing it. And you should do it properly And you're doing it properly is to consider that as very important. And some people even develop this is Jewish, but I think it's very compatible with Confucian tradition. What you're doing at the moment is the most important thing, is the sacred thing you do. You're listening, that's sacred. Talking, that's sacred. If you're tying shoes at that moment, it's a sacred act. And afterwards you walk, that's considered sacred. So an assumption which sometimes easily misunderstood is that the ultimate meaning of life is realizable in ordinary human existence. I use that term a number of times, that expression. So you do not find the ultimate of life totally outside of the lived human world. You just consider that as realizable. In fact, further to that notion, there's an injunction. You ought to realize the ultimate meaning of life in ordinary human existence. In this sense, society is critical. And Xunzi will go further to say politics is absolutely important. And so there is implicit, on the one hand, implicit elitism in the Xunzian position. But then you have to qualify. The elitism is to say those who are more powerful, influential, ought to be cultivate themselves in a more serious way. They have to be responsive and responsible for the well-being of the society as a whole. They are a group of people who are more cultivated, who have sharper sense of knowledge, who decide to cultivate themselves not only just for the interest of a small group, but for human beings as a whole. That's his argument in the book about the great value, the societal value of cultivated people. The rulers ought to be cultivated people. The rulers are not people who are authoritative alone. Their authority derives from their cultivation. There are two senses that we use about authority. Normally we think authority in a negative sense. It's elitist. But you know, I mentioned it before, an authority in some field turns out to be a source of inspiration for everyone else. And authority in literature and authority in philosophy, we defer to their judgment of our literature